3 devotionals from A.W. Tozer on morals. The first is titled, A Great Moral Blunder. Of all the people on the earth, the nation of Israel surely was the best prepared to receive the Christ of God. The children of Abraham, they were called to be a chosen people in an everlasting covenant with God the Father. Yet they failed to recognize Jesus as Messiah and Lord. There is no doubt that theirs was the greatest moral blunder in the history of mankind. He came to his own people, and they rejected him. Jesus taught frankly that he was asking his followers to throw themselves out on the resources of God. For the multitude, he was asking too much. He had come from God, but they received him not. It seems to be a comfort to some Christians to sit back and blame and belabor the Jews, refusing to acknowledge that they have information and benefits and spiritual light that the Jews never had. It is surely wrong for us to try to comfort our own carnal hearts by any emphasis that Israel rejected him. If we do that, we only rebuild the sepulchres of our fathers, as Jesus said. The next is titled, A Moral Announcement. What is God saying to his human creation in our day and time? In brief, he is saying, Jesus Christ is my beloved Son. Hear him. Why is there rejection? Why do men and women fail to listen? Because God's message in Jesus is a moral pronouncement. Men and women do not wish to be under the authority of the moral word of God. For centuries, God spoke in many ways. He inspired holy men to write portions of the message in a book. People do not like it, so they try their best to avoid it, because God has made it the final test of all morality, the final test of all Christian ethics. God, being one in his nature, is always able to say the same thing to everyone who hears him. Christian believers must know that any understanding of the Word of God must come from the same Spirit who provided the inspiration. And the last devotional for today, accepting personal responsibility. It matters little how twisted a man's life may be. There is hope for him if he will, but establish a right attitude toward God and refuse to admit any other element into his spiritual thinking. God and I, here is the beginning and the end of personal religion. Faith refuses to acknowledge that there is or ever can be a third party to this holy relation. Attitude is all important. Let the soul take a quiet attitude of faith and love toward God, and from there on, the responsibility is God's. He will make good on his commitments. There is not on earth a lonely spot where a Christian cannot live and be spiritually victorious if God sends him there. He carries his own climate with him or has it supplied supernaturally when he arrives. Since he is not dependent for his spiritual health upon local moral standards or current religious beliefs, he lives through 1,000 earthly changes, unaffected by any of them. He has a private supply from above and is in reality a little world within a world, and very much of a wonder to the rest of creation. Because this is true, we can easily see why we should never blame our spiritual failures on others. The habit of seeking weak consolation by blaming our poor showing on unfavorable circumstances is a damaging evil and should not for one moment be tolerated. To live a lifetime believing that our inner weakness was the result of an external situation and then find at the last that we ourselves were to blame, that is too painful to be contemplated.